flair for worrying about security. He will be the first person to lock the door. He will be the first person to open it. When you come in, every time anybody comes in, he was always security conscious. You understand? I could carve out a niche for him. You need to ask yourself that question. Can we go to the next slide, please? After you assess yourself and you've determined what your niche is meant to be, you need to also assess opportunities around you. So the next thing we're talking about is opportunities assessment. After a self-assessment is done, you need to be realistic about the opportunities around you and fine-tune your interest towards the opportunities available around you. In some cases, you have to make those opportunities. I'll give you two examples. Everybody knows Mark Zuckerberg. Who is Mark Zuckerberg? Oh, you guys are not giving me the ginger now. Who is Mark Zuckerberg? The owner of Meta. Meta is Facebook, Instagram, and what? Thank you very much. Went across High Five. He looked at High Five as a product, as a service. Then he looked at what are the features that High Five could have, that they don't have, that he can give to his own products, that will make it a better offering to our foundation to build on. But let's look at Steve Jobs. What brand is Steve Jobs synonymous for? Apple, thank you. When Steve Jobs was going to go into the sector, there was nothing like that. What we had as computers back then were so big that they couldn't be personal. Computers were in data centers and big libraries. Not every library in the US could even have a computer back then. So he looked at this computer that is only for commercial purpose. How do I make it fit into personal pockets? How do I make it fit into personal homes? How do I make it into, excuse me, workstations? And that gave birth to the Apple Macintosh. Has anybody heard about that before? And that's what gave birth to that. And that's how personal computers started developing. Amen? You need to evaluate opportunities around you. Let's go back to that slide, please. The Nigerian ICT situation right now is yearning for ethical hackers and cybersecurity specialists. In the last 2 or 3 months, how many of you have bank accounts? If you are banking with Zenith, you know the stress you have had to go through to do transfers and transactions in the last 3 weeks. If you are banking with GTB, you know what you have gone through with First Bank. This morning, I was at the filling station. I wanted to buy fuel while preparing to come here. And they had sold the fuel into my car. Because all the while that all those banks were giving me issues, I was moving money to OPay, that I'll be able to use OPay. I was stranded at the filling station for over 30 minutes. OPay was not OPaying. What is happening? They won't tell you. A lot of these institutions have been hacked and hacked severally. And what has basically happened? Most of the cybersecurity guys working at the IT units of these banks, majority of them have japa. There is a big gap. I'm telling you right now, if you have verifiable certification in cybersecurity and you apply to any of these banks, they will take you even if you've not graduated. They will take you as an intern. because they are all yearning for cyber security expertise. Let's go back there. Nigeria has better ICT human potentials than some Western countries, especially in fintech and programming. We, however, lack adequate supply of professionals to safeguard our systems from hacks, data pilfering, and viral/malware attacks. I'm going into any of these areas and hard work put into it. What am I saying? We have the professionals here. I've been to some of these countries before. If you see people working in the ICT industry there, you won't find your normal Caucasian person there. You know what I mean by Caucasian? Your normal Oyinbos, they are the top. The guys doing the real work are either Indians, Pakistanis, or Africans. And anywhere you see black people working, if you see 5 of them, I can guarantee you 2 of them, at least 2 of them are Nigerians. Let me give you a very funny example. Funny but true. If you go to the US today, there is nothing like USSD banking. Isn't it funny to you? There is nothing like USSD banking. You know those codes that you type, star 737, star this, that you press it and it gives you prompts. What do you want to do? You want to buy data, you want to recharge your phone, you want to send money. They don't have it there. You know why they don't have it? They have nearly 100% internet penetration. I hope I'm not talking above your head. You understand what I'm saying? Everywhere you go in their countries, there is internet available, readily available. If you go to the airport and sit down, there is internet. You just connect. There is free Wi-Fi. If you're at the bus stop, if you're at the train station, even on the way, in all the houses, there are broadband internet connections readily available. So they don't need USSD. They have the banking apps. Your bank app can work anywhere. But here, Daddy, I apologize in advance, sir. My mom is also from Ekiti. If you go to some backwater places in Ekiti, your bank app will not work. God save you if there is no network connection there. If you want to transfer money to anybody, obey. You must learn the star, whatever hash of your bank to be able to do transfer. So USSD was an invention of ours to meet our peculiar situation. Do you understand? So all of these banks abroad now looked at our industry when our fintechs started coming on. How many of you have heard of the name Paystack before? You've heard about the boy that owns Paystack. Let me tell you a funny story very quickly. When I was young, as a teenager, my parents are pastors. They were pastors in a popular church. I don't need to mention names, right? Pastors in a very popular church in Ibadan, international church. And the parents of that boy were also pastors there. He was less than 3. And he used to run to me. He would not. I just felt this boy was curious. Then after a few years, by the time I went to Ife, I lost touch with virtually everybody because when I have holidays, I don't like staying at home. I like going to Lagos. Even if I don't have anything doing, I'll go and sit at Computer Village. I want to know about the new type of motherboard that is in town. So that when I go back to school, I can sell my market. You know? Somebody that I sold Pentium 2 to before, I will tell him there's Pentium 3 now. You can get Pentium 3. You don't need to buy the entire thing. Just buy Pentium 3 motherboard. I will get it for you. So I'll put it in there and all that. So you can imagine my surprise when one day, sitting in my office, I hear that some boy won seed funding of, how much was that again? I think about $1 billion or something. And I looked at it. I said, this name looks familiar. So I went to Google and I checked his image and I found out he was the one. I was just wondering. I said to myself, I'm a scary judge of talents, you know. So what I'm saying in essence is, when you look around you, in Nigeria today, if I'm advising anybody to go into ICT, I will first ask the person a lot of questions. If I see that that person can make it in cybersecurity, I'll tell the person, go to cybersecurity. Because the opportunities around you determines the level of engagement and the type of engagement that you would have. There was opportunity for interconnectivity. Mark Zuckerberg looked at it and decided to jump at it. I had a comment a few years ago when that movie was made about Facebook. I never saw the movie, but I had a comment that Mark Zuckerberg was able to achieve something for the United States government that the CIA and the FBI combined couldn't achieve for over 50 years. That time, when they are investigating people, they will be looking at the person, they'll be tapping their phones. They want to see, what is he saying? What is he wearing? Where is he going? How is he doing? How is he living? How is he spending the money? Mark Zuckerberg make all that easier. How did he? You are the one going to Facebook now to post your house. Post where you are living. Post the wristwatch that you are wearing. The shoe that you are wearing. You will post in front of your car. All the information that the government has been looking for, you are the one giving it to them for free. And the funniest thing is, when he was designing, I never thought, and I don't believe, that he ever thought in that direction at all. In solving the major objective that he was thinking about, he had solved several other problems that he wasn't even aware of. That's the power of ICT. And in case you don't know, if you have a social media profile, your data is being harvested. You are being profiled. You are being targeted. And we don't know. If you go to China, what they have on TikTok is not what you have here. All the useless contents that we make here, they don't allow it in China. If you go to China and look at their TikTok, you will see kids making robots, making computer chips, making microchips. That's what they see. But here, you know the content. Don't let me talk about it. Next slide. Are you enjoying this? Am I too fast? Okay. Adaptability assessment. You must check your level of adaptability for your interest before you commit yourself to any area of ICT. Ask yourself a simple question. How adept am I at using my smartphone to solve personal problems? How adept am I? Some of you, how many of you use iPhones? If you are using an iPhone, be proud of the brand. Raise up your hand. They are the most valuable brand in the world. Raise up your hand. If you are dreaming of using an iPhone, raise up your hand. If you are praying to have an iPhone, raise up your hand. The question is, what does an iPhone do? An Android phone does not do. But that phone you are carrying, can you use it to solve your personal problems? There was a day I needed to transcribe a video. Transcribing videos means you want to extract the audio that is in that video into text. I needed to transcribe it for someone. The person just came to me and said, help me transcribe this. The person was the secretary of an association. They had a Zoom meeting, and he needed to write the minutes of that meeting. So he just came to me and said, I know you are the guru, help me do this. And my laptop was bad. It was undergoing repairs. And the person, was, really in a hurry. Excuse me. I said, okay, you shouldn't be coming to me for solutions like this. They are way down the ladder. And I said, bring out your phone. Go to Google Play Store. That's your problem. Type it there. Look for any of the apps that come out that is free. Read the reviews that people have dropped about that app. When you read the review, use that to pick the whichever one suits you best. And we're able to transcribe a 2-hour, 26 minutes video in less than 10 minutes. That's the power of technology. That's the power of what you are carrying around. But what do we use our phones for? Selfie. WhatsApp. Anytime I'm chatting with my daughter, I need to call her back to say, see, I'm not Gen Z. I try to form Gen Z, but I'm not Gen Z. Because she's sending me emojis that I don't even know what it's saying. I'm sure if any of you is chatting with me too, that's the same thing that will be happening. Just be sending emojis. Why can't you talk? You know, use your technology to solve your problems, not just to consume. You see, this is not within the purview of this discussion. But the problem of the black man is that we like consuming. We don't like producing. And that is why we are backwards. In terms of physical, natural endowments, we have the richest continent in the world. We have the most brainy people in the world. I mean, I've competed with, I went for a training a few years ago, 2008 to be precise, outside of here. I was the only black person there. We had people from Europe, we had people from Asia, we had people from the Arab world, and we had a few Americans and all that. I was the only black person there. And I remember the very first day that we were starting that training, they served us Lebanese bread. You know that bread that they use for shawarma? That round, dry bread. So they served us that bread and very thick cocoa, like your Ovaltine, Milo, and all that. So I was wondering, how do I eat this bread, this dry thing, with? I looked at all of them. They were forming all sorts. They were using fork. They were using knife. And I was like, "How we pay you normal?" So after a while, I just said, "Well, I'm here. If anybody makes jest of me, no, I use my hand. I cut the bread, one side of the bread. I rolled it. I dipped it into the stuff. Before I put it in my mouth, everybody on the table, all 27 of them, were 28. They were doing the same thing. And they were like, wow, it's nice. Now it's beautiful. So I was like, if I was forming, that's how I would have been suffering in silence. Some people will say bad table manners. I enjoyed it. And I'm sure each one of them, wherever they are today, they are still doing the same thing. Let's go ahead. If you are already in a career path, or you have best laid plans. What do I mean by best laid plans? Anytime I'm interviewing job applicants, I ask a simple question. And I will ask you that question today. I have plans for this group. As I was coming in here and looking at the people I met here, I came in initially when we arrived to ease myself. And I looked at the people here, and it was just dropped in my head as I was descending the staircase there that you have a group of mentees now. A group of mentees. When we get to that point, we'll cross it. Best laid plans. So I ask a question for job applicants when they come for interviews with me. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm asking you all now. At some point, I will ask you again. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And when you answer that question, how do you see yourself in 5 years interacting with technology? In honest facts, I remember the day I was doing my project defense at Ife. You cannot take away the God factor from anything that you are doing in life as a Christian. You cannot. Christianity is a divine relationship. And like one pastor used to say, Christ and IAN, that is Christian, right? That IAN simply means without Christ, I am nothing. Do you understand? Now you remember that bush path that comes all the way from beside PGO, that goes to the bush, then comes out at Old Booker, goes directly in front of Pit Theater. As I was coming down that road, that night, I attended DLCF on campus. I wasn't part of the UJCM family. I wasn't one of the people that will go to sports center to pray. But when life troubles you and you are looking for solution, you will pray like no one has ever prayed. The previous day I had gone to sports complex, I had prayed just asking God, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here? Because everybody kept telling me, you are doing certifications, you are doing certifications. Meanwhile, this agri-economics thing is what you will live on. And I knew I wasn't ready for the agri-economics thing. As I was going that day, this woman just walked up to me. But it's not like she walked up to me. She was on a bike, an old woman. She was wearing white. She was on a bike, and the bike dropped her just at the entrance of that footpath. So she came down. The bike man just dropped the bag of cassava or something that she was carrying, very heavy. Dropped it and turned and zoomed off. So when I got there, I was wondering, how would this old woman carry this thing? So Mama, she said, thank you. Like, as I was carrying the thing, my intention was to carry it with her to wherever she was going. As I was trying to carry it, I saw that the thing was very heavy. She said I should put it on her head, I shouldn't. And I put it on her head. And the moment I did, I was like, I should be going. She called me back. And she said a few words of prayers and said, you are confused about something. Don't worry, God has answered it. You are thinking of how you are going to live life. Everything is sorted, don't worry. And I said, thank you, man. I turned and I was going. I took maybe like 4 or 5 steps. I looked behind and I didn't see the woman again. My head started turning. After a while, I picked race. I ran all the way down to the Department of Agri-Economics. Went through my project defense like a breeze. And from there, I ran back to the faculty because I ran back to PGO because the remaining fuel in my car couldn't even warm it. I went to put out the battery terminal so that the battery won't run down. The remaining fuel, I'm sure, was just enough to take me to my parents' house. So I got there. My things were already in the car. I just entered the car. People were show. I didn't answer. When I got home, I called my mom. Prayer warrior, come. Something happened to me today. So I told her. She said, no, don't worry. It might be familiar spirit. It might be this, but let us pray. And we prayed. I didn't know as at that time where what I was doing would take me to. I didn't know. I couldn't have imagined that this boy that was about graduating at that time would sit on some tables that I have sat on with people who would work in some companies that I had worked in, would achieve a few things that I've achieved in life. Because at that point, I was in a state of complete turmoil. One or more of you might be in that state today. But I can assure you, everything is sorted in Jesus' name. Let's go back to the slide. If already in a career path or have best plans for tomorrow, ask yourself how best ICT fits your career path or best laid plans. An aspiring farmer can envision applications or mobile that monitors the suitability in certain areas for crop products based on data to be gathered over a certain period. An aspiring banker envisioned the use of social media networking tools to develop a bank of target customers for investment banking. An aspiring pastor can envision taking the gospel to the world via an application that drops the word of the day to members without the use of SMS, WhatsApp, and direct social media. In other words, ICT requires that you have a vision. Visionless people do not succeed in ICT. Visionless people do not succeed. One of the companies I worked for was an engineering company. As at the time I joined, the company had over 80 projects across all the 36 states of Nigeria. So one day I go into finance and I saw somebody working on 2 computer screens at the same time. So I asked, what are you doing? He said he's preparing payroll. And I looked at the payroll. You are preparing payroll in Microsoft Excel? He said, yes. Don't I know? Excuse me, please. Don't I know that we don't have a payroll software? I said, why don't we have a payroll software? Would not afford to buy a payroll software. So I said, okay, that's a need. That's why I'm there as a deputy manager software. So I went back to the office, called my team, and I said, we need to do this. Who are the stakeholders that we need to work with? We need to work with HR. We need to work with finance. So I went to the HR manager. Madam, we need to do this. We need to do this. It's something that we have been thinking about. We were thinking of buying, blah, blah. No worry, madam. Just give us 6 months. And we started working on it. And the very first day, don't forget, I'm talking about 2004. The very first day that software was used, 7 million naira was shaved off our payroll for 1 month. In 2004. 7 million. If you do a compounding interest formula right now, 7 million as at 2004 cannot be less than 50 million now. Am I right? Imagine a company losing 50 million naira every month now to overpayments. Because some people were being paid twice, thrice, and they were collecting it. Look around you, assess opportunities, and provide solutions to it. You won't be successful in ICT. Next slide. This is